So we're very happy for you to join us on our webinar today on how to achieve a service desk that adapts to your changing business needs. My name is Alex Levier, and I'm a sales consultant here at Herzum. With me today on the phone, I have one of our senior Atlassian consultants, Alvin Rodas, as well as our Director of Professional Service, Ruslan Shlaim. So first off, we're kind of just going to go over the traditional model for IT ops and services. So the traditional model, it prevents companies from actually achieving true ITSM transformation. This is largely due to a proliferation of tools and rigid systems and processes. These in turn prevent you from creating modern ops and support teams with each siloed into its own part of the organization, as you can see on screen with the visual. As both Al and Russ have far more extensive technical experience actually implementing these types of transformations, I'd like to get some input from them here. Is this type of traditional overly siloed model something you guys run into a lot?
And yeah, we do, and a lot of this is driven because the company is extremely big, and it's taken a time for them to try to take the boat and turn around and see if they can achieve a better kind of a synergy between both sides of the equation there. And it especially applies in particular to certain modules or certain aspects of the service management. And as of late, what's been a hot topic is around asset management and configuration management and so on. And so it's definitely been a front center, with the folks and customers that we talk to.
Yeah.
And one thing to
Absolutely.
add with that, we found that, and in my experience, companies that have had legacy systems in place, whether they're homegrown or they're third-party vendors, there's a separate system for incident management. There's a separate system for asset management. There's something separate for software development lifecycle. So when we have these disparate systems trying to talk and integrate with one another, integration can be messy, which then in turn begets messy processes. So with Atlassian, we've got the ability to, unsilo, so to speak, the way the work is done, bring it into the Atlassian tool set, and have a much greater chance of, coordinating, centralizing where the work is done, which then more accurately can reflect a better business process overall. So yeah, you're seeing a bunch of different things here as far as what's involved in, IT service management. And with Atlassian tools, we can manage it all in a one-stop shop, which is very convenient and very helpful once folks get onboarded to that type of solution.
Yeah, that's a great point, though, and we're seeing people, instead of using the tools and to their full capacity and kind of operating at 100%, having kind of desperate tools in different places, you're trying to make things work rather than actually doing the work, right? And so there's a lot of energy and effort goes into making sure that things are kind of dotted on all the ends, so that the picture is complete, instead of kind of actually concentrating on the work they need to be doing.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
The tools should work for your business process, not the other way around. So yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So starting off with ops teams, some or all of these may be very relevant to anyone on this call. First off, you have an increasingly complex cloud services architecture with dependencies on multiple teams. We kind of just talked about that a little bit a second ago. And with the increase of remote work post-COVID, this creates even more challenges, in addition to dealing with very aggressive deadlines and timelines when it comes to responding to a rapidly changing business environment and incidents. Now more than ever, our work needs to flow seamlessly between your dev and ops teams. But legacy tools often fall very short of this mission, and traditional processes and team dynamics, as we just discussed, just don't deliver the outcomes they used to, leaving your teams feeling very stranded and siloed, kind of as we just went into. As for support, as your company grows and the market changes, your challenges only continue to compound. What we keep hearing from our customers is that their teams struggle with keeping up with changes in the business, which means increasing volume of support tickets and requests, but no more people to handle the volume. Kind of doing that, you do more with less that so many of us are hearing nowadays. This has a direct impact on your employee satisfaction as team members feel they can't get things done, and this further impacts their productivity. More and more employees use different channels such as Slack, Teams, Confluence, etc. And being able to provide them access to self-service knowledge bases or respond to requests where they work in this remote environment becomes even more challenging. IT ops ultimately often has to bear the burden of adjusting to this increasing complexity and keep pace with business changes. The days of working exclusively on simple client or servers are very much falling by the wayside. So Russ and Al, do you have any additional challenges you'd like to add here with your experience?
Well, I think one of the things that you mentioned is how the tools are silent and nobody knows where things at. I think the big part of the AI that we're gonna talk about later, that actually kind of ties a lot of things together, at least within the Jira Confluence ecosystem. And then I'm sure it's gonna sprawl out more into the other Atlassian tools, and so I'm definitely going to help to be able to kind of tie things together even more.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to the slide you showed prior, there were multiple teams, HR, legal, marketing, etc. When we think of ITSM and IT service management, the services that we're providing as support to the user base, it doesn't necessarily need to be only, IT services or support type of offerings. So while you think about service management being leveraged for, needing a new laptop or a mobile phone or some type of outage, we can also spin up service desks for, requests for the marketing team or HR onboarding and offboarding. So I'll get into this later, but when we create projects within the tool, there are various templates that cater to different team needs that can be spun up to take care of things that are not traditionally, may have traditionally been seen as quote unquote IT services, right? So it's a very versatile tool that can be used across many different applications.
So I really appreciate you guys' input on kind of building out that current state of ITSM. So next, I think we're gonna jump into kind of, is there a better way to do this? Sort of thing, because we've gone through a lot of the challenges that people are facing nowadays that we've run into with different clients. Is there a better way to go about this to, kind of head off some of these challenges where they are and plan for the future? So we'll jump into this nice little visual we have here that's modern service management with Atlassian. It kind of gives you just an overall framework to look at. I think it's just a pretty cool slide itself. Modern service management, when it comes to Atlassian, really means enabling your company to modernize your support and operations across the entire value stream, supported by not just your technology, but the overall strategy can't just be a tech stack. It has to also be things like culture, practices, methodologies, and overall agility, kind of like we just talked about, really having a fully integrated strategy for your organization. Russ and Al, is there, again, more color and depth you guys would like to add to this visual and kind of maybe walk through what are some of the ways, best practices we should think about for ITSM?
Yes, absolutely. So with ITSM, IT service management, it's a way that the company is going to provide IT services to its user base. If you look at the frameworks down below with ITIL and DevOps, those are frameworks by which ITSM can be implemented. So when we look at the tooling that's involved with the Atlassian platform, Jira Service Management, Jira Software, and Confluence, those are all tools that can be leveraged to have that IT service offering to the user base. And now, taking a look at how that framework is going to be used in the tools, going back up to the top, we have to look at how it's going to be built out right? Like we talked about before, with legacy systems that are homegrown or third parties that are all different, it doesn't always permit for the proper business process to be in place. So when we look at it from process first in the planning stage and understanding, okay, how does a piece of work make it from start to finish? We can determine that and then start to create that build to account for the business practice that is involved in, software development lifecycle or an outage that's reported as an incident. So once that's built, it goes into the operate phase. So then, we can take what's there and iterate and improve upon it as needed. We talked about the flexibility of the platform. If workflows need to be changed, or if your business process changes, the tool is adaptable enough for one to go in and make adjustments as needed. Russ before talked about the changes that may need to happen as your IT services evolve over time. And instead of being afraid of it because of the inflexibility of the tool, in this operate phase, because there is flexibility with Atlassian tooling, it's pretty straight. It can be adopted as your operation matures and the tool takes traction. And then of course the support piece is what's delivered at the end, right? And that should be easily accessible by the user base. A centralized place to report issues, an easy way to view status of where a reported issue stands. So if I'm a user of those IT services, I should be able to easily report and keep track of where my issue stands at any given point in time. So that goes back to the culture thing you were talking about, where if a tool's not easy to use, then I'm not going to use it, right? I'm going to continue to send emails out to people, and that's no good for anybody. So
Jira Service Management itself is the heart of the entire service management platform from Atlassian. It really is something that unifies and opens up work across the organization. Russ and Al, do you guys have, as you've done a lot of these implementations, does that align with your experience?
And so, yeah, so I think, part of the slide was the Atlassian Marketplace, and I think that kind of brings a lot of the outside support to the Atlassian ecosystem, right? So we totally realize that the Atlassian tools are great, but there are others that folks use for whatever the reasons. Legacy. There could be other teams that kind of involved, and so they're all bringing in the tools with them into the ecosystem. And so the having a flexible platform to be able to kind of integrate not only through the APIs, but natively through kind of the apps that are being written to support the outside applications. I think that brings an immense value to the Atlassian ecosystem. And like I said, having a Jira Service Management at the core of it, it doesn't end, right? You got the Confluence where the tribal knowledge is stored, and everybody can go to with the questions that need to be asked, with the knowledge base, with being able to help the customer with prior experiences. That's priceless. And then Jira Software, where you engage the development team if need be, to be able to kind of support the applications that you're delivering to your customers from their end, and so and that even extends further, incorporating the build tools and the code repositories and so on and so forth. So all the CI and CD pipelines that are out there that the teams use, they can also be incorporated into this picture. Yeah, and then the other piece, and which is somewhat more recent, but make sure that you utilize the automation throughout the Atlassian ecosystem. It essentially applies to every tool that's out there, and the more you can do it, the better. We work with the customers where they we took out completely the interaction between the development team in Jira, in a good sense, where developers like to operate, in the code repository. They want to use their development tools. They want to rely less on Jira, and so there are hooks and different triggers that are in place that will still update the request stores, being that in the Jira Service Management or in Jira software, based on actions that the developer takes on their end. And so there's a lot of automation sprinkled throughout the tool. So make sure that, as a part of the adoption, you do take that on and do not shy away from that.
So yes, Jira Service Management demo, there's a couple of things that I wanted to step through, and I'll give you a quick overview before I start going through it. With Jira Service Management, there are two sides, if you will, that I'm going to demo for you. One side is the customer-facing piece, where the customer can go and report issues, and then we'll flip to the agent side, which shows the Jira Service Management tool in full force. We'll take a look at tickets, queues, what the ticket looks like, how it moves through the workflow, etc., and some key points from how an agent can use the ticket to track the issue from start to finish. So starting first with the customer side, again, I talked before about the tools got to work for the user base, okay? So one of those, there is a centralized place to report issues. So there's three primary ways of intake for issues into Jira Service Management. One, there's an email integration. So you send an email to a specific address and it'll create a ticket. Of course, agents can create tickets manually within the tool itself. And then we have a customer portal whereby a customer can come and open up a request based upon whatever issue happens to be at hand. So these requests, or request types rather, can be built out based upon your service catalog or the service offering that your team is going to give to its user base. So here, for instance, we can see that requesting VPN, all right? I'm going to put in VPN here in the summary, and we talked about Confluence earlier. Confluence is an enterprise level document management tool, which also can serve as a knowledge base for your customers and for your agents. So here, when I put in VPN, what happens is it'll do a lookup in Confluence to see if there are any articles that are associated with the topic that I'm placing. So that way, if I'm a customer, I come in, I type in VPN, I'm directed to articles that may help me straight away, and I don't actually need to open a ticket, right? So that's ticket deflection, and it's self-service from the customer standpoint. So in this case, there could be an article here that will allow me to take care of what I need to do and not open a ticket. So in a different case here, I'm going to request a new monitor, all right? So we have different request types here. I've got fields on the request type, which can be customized to the particular request that the customer is creating. So in this case, need a new monitor for this. All right, so I've asked for a summary and a description. Anything that has a red asterisk next to it is a required field. So we can have required fields on the form so that when the ticket is created, the agent doesn't need to chase down the customer for key information that's needed up front. So here, there's a series of drop downs, which is going to continue to prompt me to add to the ticket for what my request is. And what it's going to ask me here first is device type. So if I do a drop down here, we can see several choices that are exposed, be it a keyboard, laptop, monitor, etc. What we're seeing here is driven by a tool called Assets, which comes with Jira Service Management Premium. And this allows us to have IT asset management integrated into Jira Service Management. So we can spin up a IT asset management with a configuration management database for whether they're physical objects or offices or people. We can track that within our ITAM tool for assets. So here I'm going to select monitor, and because I selected monitor, it's going to give me choices for monitors that I would like to request. So I'll go ahead and request this one here. And then once all of these fields are populated, I'll click send. Once I click send, again, for me, from the customer standpoint, I can see the ticket number that's created. I can see the information that I placed in the ticket. And then one thing too, up here on the upper right, if I click on requests, I can also view the status of all the requests that I've submitted, okay? So for anything that I have submitted in the past, I can see the status. I can click into the detail here on the ticket as well. So again, one-stop shop, easy access to view and request issues from a customer standpoint. So now let's take the flip side of that onto the agent side. So I'm going to move over here to the agent view of Jira Service Management. And the first thing I'm going to see is the ticket queue. And the ticket queue is going to show me whatever issues are in play. And I can configure my queues to slice and dice the issues in any means that will help me manage the issues, okay? So right now I've got all open tickets, but I can also see tickets for other regional offices, etc. So what we'll see here, these are open tickets that are, showing certain pieces of data on the ticket, including the key, the summary, the assignee, etc. So here's the one that I created for requesting new hardware. So once I click on the issue key, I'll see the issue view. All right. So again, summary, this is description. These are the devices and device types selected in the form. And then here, there's a few things on the right side that I wanted to go over, where we have the ability to change the status of the issue, which coincides with the workflow that's built for this ticket. So it gets created and waiting for support status, and I can move it to in progress, showing that this request is being worked on. I also have SLAs, or service level agreements, and these can be set up to track various milestones within the ticket. In this case, I've got time to first response. I've set it 4 hours, and time to resolution within 8 hours. So this keeps us in tune with the urgency of the issue, depending on how the SLAs are configured. Coming down through here, I can see that the request type comes through. I can set a priority, and I can assign the ticket to a particular agent to take care of. All right. And then here, with respect to activity, I can add an internal note or a customer-facing comment. So here for the internal note, I'm going to mention Emma, and I'm going to ask her to please look into this request. All right, so I'm notifying an internal colleague that this request came through, and Emma's in purchasing, right? So she's going to start the process of provisioning the monitor. I can also reply to the customer and let them know that this request is in play. So I can click reply to customer here and say, hello, your request is being handled, all right? So when I click save, I don't have email connected to this particular demo environment, but an email notification will go out at certain milestones in the ticket. So when the ticket is created, when the status changes, or when a comment customer facing is added. So if I go back to the portal view, let's refresh my screen here, I can see that the comment that I placed is shown here on the portal view, and I would have gotten an email also. So, Russ, do you have something to add?
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention, right? You have the internal flow of the ticket, right? Of how the ticket is being handled. A lot of times people don't realize you can actually have a separate a flow that kind of goes hand in hand with the internal flow of the ticket, or I'm talking about a workflow that is shown to the customer. So if you go back to the portal right now, the status would match what's in the agent view, but this could be a customer centered status, not necessarily one reflecting the same workflow that's going on the agent side. And so that makes it a little bit more user friendly and gives a little bit more information to the customer as to what's going on with the ticket.
Absolutely, yes. So yes, we can customize what the status is here on the issue view, or sorry, the portal view, to be different than what's on the issue view here. So yes, that's a great point. So one thing I also wanted to show here is that the knowledge base, based upon what we saw on the portal, where I typed in VPN and it brought up articles, as an agent, I can also view articles that were brought up by what's in the summary, but I can also search the knowledge base as well. So again, as an agent, there's tools for me to use without having to leave the ticket. Again, I can search Confluence from the ticket straight away. So with that being said, you know, let's say this was an issue that, well, actually, let me go back to a different item here. So this issue here, let's say I needed to escalate this to a different team, like a development team or some other team within my company as well. So the ability for native integration, we've seen already with Jira Service Management and Confluence, but we can also have native integration with Jira software. So if I had to create an issue for a development team, let's say I needed to create an issue for the mobile development team, which relates to this incident that came in for Jira Service Management, I can easily do that by creating a linked issue. So here, what will happen is I'll select the project. These are the issue types available in this development project. It already populates it with the issue that I'm linking from, and then I can, you know, add to the description that's created upon the linked issue if I want to. So when I click create, I can see here that there's a linked issue going to Mobile 39, which is a development project. And if I go to Jira Software in the mobile development project, I can see an issue link to the incident that came through within Jira Service Management. All right. So again, when we talk about disparate tools that are being used to manage IT service management at scale, if they're siloed in different tools, it's very difficult to be able to get this level of integration with the work, let alone tracking the business process and the communication between departments. So here we've shown that Jira Service Management can integrate with Confluence and Jira software very easily to be able to manage an issue from end to end, regardless of what departments need to be involved within the enterprise. So
right,
yes.
And so yeah, and so you briefly showed it on the screen. If you go back to the a developer's ticket, on the right there, you'll see the development a panel, which right now is not integrated, but essentially you'll be able to see, you know, what branch was part of this ticket, what commit, what pull request, whether it was deployed or not, whether it failed builds or not. So all of that is going to be there. The other thing is the, you know, what I was talking about in terms of the automation, you know, based on what developer does here or what they do inside of the codes or source code repository, you're able to automate things. And so if a ticket changes the status here, you can automatically either add a comment, connect to a customer, ping an agent to take a look. And so there's a lot of kind of these background things that you can do, these tasks you can do to kind of advance and you know, make the customer experience better.
Absolutely. Yes, great point. You spoke about automations earlier. Again, we can use the automations to power the business process and take away some of those repetitive tasks, which makes everybody's lives easier. So yeah, great point. So look, that's what I wanted to show was the customer side, the agent side, how various Atlassian tools integrate